name, man?
Hi, my name is Matt, Ranger Matt, and welcome to another day with Slick, a better you. Over the last 3 years, I've had the pleasure of meeting many different people, book authors, pastors, singers, motivational speakers, people from television, people from the daytime serial world, and people from Disney.
Why am I asking you this? I already know this. You're from where I'm at, Baltimore native.
Over these 3 years, I've heard many excellent stories. I've had many wonderful conversations, good laughs, and I've always enjoyed hearing stories from people in terms of how they got from point A to point B to where they are today. I've had a blast doing this, and I can't wait to see what else is in store. So sit back, relax, and here's a new episode of Slick, a better you.
Yeah, what are you going to do? You know, it's a messed up family.
Well, hey guys, and welcome to another day with Slick, a better you. Like I always say, to help better advance people, you got to better advance yourself. And when you advance yourself, you can help other people because we all need help one way or another. And I got a guest on today who is a wizard. I'm just kidding. She's not a wizard. No, she's a whiz, a visibility whiz. Does that mean she's going to visibility disappear? Maybe she's a magic, a magic trick. She's going to disappear. Maybe no, she's not going to do that. I'm just kidding. No. I hope you guys are well out there. It is hot, like I don't know what outside. Well, it could be hotter, but it is slightly hot outside. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to have a new guest on. Each time I have a guest on, I always learn something new and different, and I'm excited about today. And joining me live today is Miss Cindy J. Holbrook, our future president, who is going to change the wizardality of. I'm just kidding. No, she's not a wizard. Hey, Cindy J.
Hi, Ranger Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well.
If I had a magic wand,
I'm telling you,
it would be great. I could make myself appear or disappear, and I could magically make everybody a hit and an in-demand expert.
So does that mean? Do I get 3 wishes?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not guaranteeing I can grant them, but you can have 3 wishes.
Okay. Well, a car and a lot of money, whatever you can throw this way, I'll take it.
Money?
Okay, sure. So you are in Arizona, correct?
I am in Arizona, yep.
What is the weather like out there today?
Well, I am in central Arizona. So central Arizona, we're on the border of the forest and the desert. So in the summer, it only gets in the highs about 92 to 94. So you're not sweltering like Phoenix is right now. Phoenix is, I think, about 112, whereas we're about 92.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, definitely much better than being in the heat.
Yeah. I've been in the heat all day today, Yes. So, where are you from exactly? And what kind of?
Where am I from? That's a big question.
Oh, okay.
True story. I was born in Mount Ida, Arkansas. Population today is about 800. And when I was born, maybe it was 200. But my father was building a house, and so we lived in a chicken house when I was a baby.
Okay.
In Arkansas, yeah. So, and then when I was 2 years old, they moved to California. So I was raised in Southern Cal.
Oh, so I need to get your autograph. Well, you already a celebrity, so let me get your autograph, and I can, I'm telling you, I can.
Everybody from Southern Cal is a celebrity. Is that the thing?
I'm telling you, 90210. I can get your autograph and down the road put it on eBay. Worth millions of dollars.
And then I was named after Hurricane Cindy, so you just have all kinds of cool things. We really have fun with this.
I can tell. I can tell where this is going to go. So what? So let me ask you this. So when in life did you know that you wanted to get into what you do today? like as far as helping people with entrepreneurship and what have you?
Very late in life. I had a traumatic past. I wasn't traumatic to me when I was living it, but everybody tells me that I've really had a traumatic past.
Oh,
But we're all used to whatever happens around us. It's just normal.
mhm.
And so it wasn't until I was 35 years old that I call her my first coach. She was mentor coach. She was actually my boss. But she told me, she goes, Cindy, your life is your choice. I said, lady, you're crazy. Nobody in this world is going to choose my life right now. I
Mm.
was suicidal. I was depressed. I had a husband who was involved with another woman. My teenage daughter was involved in gangs. I had experienced 4 deaths in my immediate family in the previous 18 months. And I was like, nobody would have wanted my life. So I told her, you're crazy. But she gave me some Tony Robbins cassette tapes to listen to.
Somebody out there probably going, what's a cassette tape? Well, back in the day before modern technology. Right.
But that is really, and then she got me, and not that I realized what she was doing then, but she was always asking me, Cindy J, what would you do if Earl actually left you penniless? Because he was always threatening to leave me penniless. I was making like $10 an hour and he was making $70K a year. And I was like, how am I supposed to support 2 teenage kids on $10 an hour when they're used to his income? Right. But he would always threaten to leave me and the kids penniless. And she goes, where would you live? What would you do? Who would take care of your cars? Who would do this? Who would do that? And now when I look back, I see she was getting me to visualize.
Right.
And so just with her encouragement, she told me books to read and things like that. So as I started learning and growing about myself, it took me a couple years before I got the confidence to leave my first husband, which was a huge step. Also, I was very involved in the church at that time. And every time I mentioned leaving Earl, they would say, if you leave Earl, you're going to burn in hell forever. Now, who wants to burn in hell forever? It was horrible. You know,
what kind of philosophy is that? They should have told you if you leave him, you'll have a better life. What kind of philosophy is that? That's
yeah. And a matter of fact, when I did leave, my so-called good friend at the time told me, God is very disappointed in you. He doesn't care if you're happy or not. He just wants you to obey his rules, and he hates divorce. And I was like, my God wants me to be happy, and I'm not happy.
No.
You know, with all the crap that he was doing and making my life miserable. And even I was still really dealing with my traumatic past that I didn't realize was traumatic.
Right.
It actually took me 18 years to make peace with my mother's death. So it was like really a huge struggle because I didn't realize it was all bad.
Right.
And I was making excuses for my father who did horrible things to me. And my ex-husband had the same, he was mentally and physically abusive to a point, but there was no sexual abuse in my marriage as there was in my childhood. So I was trained from a very early age that I was an object. So whenever everybody started dying and all this, you know, and I started going through what I call my hell years, but my hell years was actually my healing years.
Right.
You know, things change. But so whenever Carol told me, hey, your life is your choice, I was like, lady, you're crazy. Nobody would want this. But I tell my clients, regardless where you are right this moment, you have the power to turn your life around. You have the power to choose how you're going to live today and tomorrow, regardless of what's happened in your past.
See, that's why I said that in the beginning. Cindy J for president. You know, this you giving, you know, could really lead and change the culture right now. I'm telling you.
We tell ourselves lies like all the time, but you know what happened? Like, I mean, I made lies and excuses for my father, and he used to always keep my sister and I quiet by saying if my mother ever found out, I would kill her. So when I started dating my current husband, Mike, we were talking on the phone, and it was the first time I told Mike about the abuse. And I said, but I think my dad had a split personality. I think he didn't realize what he was doing was wrong. And Mike goes, honey, you can't say that, because if he didn't think what he was doing was wrong, he never would have told you. If your mother found out, it would kill her. And I was like, you got a good point there, right? But we tell ourselves lies to cope. And sometimes the lies don't make, you'll love this next story. Sometimes lies make no sense at all, right?
Right.
Sometime in my life, I decided that my sister had my nephew when she was 16. My sister is 8 years older than I am. Therefore, my nephew was 8 years younger, right?
Right.
So the year that I turned 40, my birthday's in June. So I turned 40 in June. And Marty came over in July. His birthday's in August. I go, so Marty, you're going to be the big 40 next month. No, Anthony, I'm going to be 39. I go, Marty, don't lie to me. You know, my family likes getting me to believe things that aren't true because I can be very gullible. And so I really thought that they were just like trying to pull my leg. I'm like, Marty, I know how old you are. You're 8 years younger than me, so that means you're going to be 40. And his kids are like, Aunt Cindy, honestly, he's going to be 39. And my husband's like, Cindy, don't you think Marty knows how old he is? I go, no, he's just lying to me, right? I was adamant. I argued with him for an hour about how old he was. Finally, got tired of the whole thing, and he pulls out his driver's license. He goes, look at the year I was born, and you tell me how old I am, Aunt Cindy. And I'm like, holy crap, you're going to be 39. But I would have bet somebody like $10 million he was going to be 40. That's how much I believed that. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to fight so hard over something so stupid of how old somebody is, what other lies are in my head that I'm fighting tooth and nail for that aren't true? More serious ones than just how old somebody is.
You know what's interesting though? Like, other than us communicating via messenger and meeting you just today, it's just that what you just said about lies and how it helps cover up. You know, I never thought about it like that until you just said that. Not that I do that, but it's just thinking about that and just, wow, that's, you know, nobody never really put it like that, because it's like sometimes we cover up like what we might be thinking or saying, especially when it comes to a something in our lives or somebody we know, and it's like that lie could help cover that up, but truth will set you free.
Right.
But that's interesting how you say that, though.
So much of it is coping mechanisms that we create as children. I recently released my memoir, Overcoming Dark Family Secrets. And one of the chapters is the lies I was led to believe. So, for example, it was horrible, but when it was one of my first memories of life, I was 4 years old, and my mom was visiting the lady across the street, and I was playing with her son, Jimmy. So Jimmy and I were playing in the mud. You know, and Jimmy like covered me in mud from head to toe. And all of a sudden my mom grabs me and she's like, we have to get home now, because if she didn't have dinner on the table at a certain time, all hell would break loose, right? So It dawned on her what time it was. So she grabs me and runs across the street, and I'm sitting in the living room covered in mud as my mom's cooking. My father comes home from work and he looks at me and he goes, who are you? Where does this little black child belong? I don't have a black child. And he told my brother to take me down the street to the black family. You must belong to the black family down the street because you don't belong here. So he thought this was really funny, but this really traumatized me. Thankfully, it didn't make me prejudiced against black people. I mean, I'm always very thankful for that because I don't see color, but it traumatized me, and it made me believe that I had to look and be a certain way to be loved and accepted. So it's like, to this day, it bothers me to get dirty, you know, because of this lie that I was led to believe that was totally untrue. And it was just this horrible thing that my father did just because he thought it was funny, but I didn't think it was funny, and neither did my brother. My brother did not, but my brother was afraid of getting whipped. So he's like walking me down the street because my father made him do that. And I can remember like I'm kicking and yelling and kicking and screaming and, you know, hitting my brother like, you know, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I mean, they could have told me they were taking me to the Pink family down the street, and I still would have had the same feeling, you know, because it to me, they're taking me away from my mom. that was like the trauma thing to me. You're taking me away from my mom. My mom was my life. I mean, from the time I was born. And so it was like, don't take me away from my mom. Yeah, it was really a horrible thing, you know. So that
Right.
made me believe that. Another time when I was 6 years old, it was Christmas morning, and he told me to sweep the floor before all the kids had chores before we could open our gifts. He has me sweep the floor, and he had me sweep the floor for about 6 hours before I swept it to his satisfaction, before anybody could open their Christmas gifts. So this lie that I was led to believe is you have to do something perfect before you can get rewarded.
Right.
So there's these lies. I don't care what culture you're from, what family you're from, you know, and not everybody had a crazy father like mine, but you still pick up these little things that stick with you. And then you think as you grow older, like you believe them and
Right.
they're subconscious, and then you act on them, which keeps you stuck and prevents you from having the success and the impact that you could have.
I guess that would fall in line if, just for example, I guess that would fall in line if like somebody in school or like a friend or somebody putting up a front by lying about like what they are, what they doing in front of a group of people, but when they're by themselves, when you with them one-on-one,
Yeah.
they put on, you know, their regular self. That's, I mean, I'm just, your words just now saying that, just, you know, it got me doing a lot of thinking. That's all.
Got you thinking.
I'm telling you.
The thing is we have to think, because the key to anything is being aware of it. If we're not aware of it, we can never change it. Never.
Right.
We have to be aware of it. And, you know, there's just so many things. But once I became, like, whenever Carol introduced me to Tony Robbins, and I started becoming aware of different things, but I started seeing the psychologist, and he told me to stop. He gave me this timer and said, every time the timer goes off, I want you to write whatever you're thinking. And that's a scary thing to do. And I always challenge my clients to do that and other people, because if you really want to start knowing what's driving you, all these inner things in your head that you don't even realize are there, because I did it for he wanted me to do it for 7 days, and I could only do it for like 3 or 4 days. Because I'm like, oh my God, all my thoughts are horrible. I'm having these horrible thoughts and they didn't make any sense. But then it helped me become aware of whenever I was having an ugly thought and turn it around to a nice thought. So naturally, whenever you're having more happy, positive thoughts, you're going to be a happier, positive person. But you're thinking all these, these thoughts were stupid. Like, oh, Mary has an ugly dress on. Mary thinks she's so smart. Mary thinks this, right? And they were just dumb thoughts that I was having.
Well, you know what? Luckily, you know, I mean, it would benefit for somebody to be able to write down, like, you know, what's in their mind, because that can help, me, you, or in general, help us become better with what's going on. And, you know, that's, wow.
Yeah. It's whenever you're aware, and sometimes different things happen. Now, again, back in the 90s, in the 90s was when the term mental abuse became popular. Before the 90s, you really didn't hear that term. So I would, say, yeah, I was physically abused. Yeah, I was sexually abused. But mental abuse is a bunch of hogwash. I used to say that all the time. And so after I started dating Mike, I bought these 32-ounce sodas and went to a park, and we were drinking them and talking, and I spilled the soda all over his truck. And Mike jumps out of the truck and grabs some rags, and he started like cleaning it up. I curled up into a little ball on the passenger side and started rocking and chanting, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And Mike looked at me with the most confused look ever and said, "Baby, you have nothing to be sorry about." And I started sobbing. So Mike sat in that wet, sticky seat, for like 3 hours holding me while I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed because I was so far into the forest I couldn't see the trees. And I
Right.
would say that was like a huge transformational moment for me because once I realized that I was very emotionally abused, first by my father, then by my first husband, that I didn't, that I couldn't even start to have my own life until
Right.
I broke that. So whenever you say, when did I, all this started because you asked me, when did I realize that I wanted to help people? But I think it's always been this inner thing. I got into social services. Why would I work in social services except for I wanted to help people? But it wasn't, I became a coach in 2009
Mm-hmm.
whenever I found out about it. And so I fell in love with coaching because whenever people pay you for coaching, they're there because they want to be helped and they want to grow and they want to learn, versus in social services, they're being told they have to do this and they have to do that.
Right.
Big difference between being told you have to do something and you want to. So that's a very, very long answer to your question.
Hey, it's okay. You answered that real well. I lost my train of thought. I had some things I was going to say to what you were saying, but hearing your story, I was just like, whoop, I gotta go back and find it now. But I got kind of a heavy question for you. I don't know if you're ready for it or not, but what is the best advice that you've given someone?
The best advice that I have given someone?
Mm-hmm.
I really think with anybody, the best advice anybody can do is just learn to love yourself. Other people don't define you. You define who you are.
And
When I worked in social services, there was this girl, and I always say Johnny. I really don't even remember what the guy's name was. I don't think it was Johnny. But she came into my office, and she goes, Johnny's going to be moving back in. He's getting out of prison next month, and he's going to be moving back in with me. And I was like, okay, just be sure to let me know the day that he gets out and that he's living with you. She
right,
goes, I know you think I'm stupid. And I said, no, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're a very, very smart, intelligent young girl. And
right,
whenever you decide that you don't deserve to be treated the way Johnny treats you, then you will leave. Because she knew that I knew that Johnny was in prison for trying to kill her. She knew that I knew that. And so that's why she was like, I'm stupid. So everybody was telling her she was stupid. So all that does, whenever you have somebody in a domestic violence situation, all that does is make them think they're stupid, that they don't deserve any better, that they're not smart enough to do any better.
right,
About a year after this, after I told her she wasn't stupid, that when she decided that she deserved better, she
mm-hmm.
left him and she came and she thanked me. And I would say, if anything, that always still to this day touches me. That just something so simple as telling this girl, you're not stupid. When you decide that you deserve to be treated better, you'll leave him.
Right.
It just touches me thinking that something, such a simple statement to somebody that's being abused, how it can transform their life.
This is exactly why they need to take Dr. Phil off and put you on instead on because you would get high ratings. Your wisdom words that's going on today,
Thank you.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's just sad, everybody, especially today, a lot of it is like we all have our own crap. Everybody has crap.
yeah,
People look at my life and they rate the trauma as a 10. And I'm like, but you could be told one single thing or one thing could have happened to you that can hold you back and keep you stuck and prevent you from doing what you want to do or prevent you from having a happy life. That is just as traumatic to you because your body feels the same thing that I do. Our minds rate trauma, not our bodies, and
right.
not our subconscious. Our subconscious just acts on it. When I was there, and there is a point to the story, but when I was 6 years old, I wrote this 2-page story. I had the chicken pox. Like I can really remember sitting on the floor in front of my mom writing this 2-page story. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's like, "Oh, that's such a good story for a 6-year-old." So she folded it up and put it in her special little brown box where all of her special papers were.
Right.
And then when I was in 6th grade, I wrote a 40 or 50 page typed up story, and my teacher thought it was so good that she had me type it up and photocopy it, and she gave all the sixth graders a copy of my book, and then she sent it to a publisher friend of hers, and the publisher friend sent me a letter saying that I was very creative, I was a good writer, and I would reach success at an early age as long as I did not get discouraged with my writing. My mom also kept that. I lost both of these things after my mom died. But she put that in her little brown box and kept that letter from this publisher. When I was 17, just before I got married to my first husband, I wrote a poem that I was going to read at the wedding. My father said, "Oh, you should not read that poem at the wedding because you will be a laughingstock. If you ever let anybody read what you write, you will be a laughingstock." So this little switch in my head accepted it. And I thought, nobody's never going to read my writing again. I don't want to be a laughingstock. So when I left my first husband, I threw away 5 books I'd written that nobody never read because I didn't want to be a laughingstock. So for me to have my writing all over the internet, for me to have written a book, a very personal book about my life, shows you how far I've came since leaving my first husband, which is really when I say my life began.
Right. That I wish you had kept that, because him, I'm trying to find the right words with saying this without sounding inappropriate about it, but him saying that to you, it's whether he likes what you wrote or not. I mean, that's not really something you tell at least your children. Well, at least, people in general. I mean, that's because your words in general. I mean, obviously, you had a knack for this as a young kid, so that your words can help encourage somebody. You could have helped a friend or like you're doing now, of course. But I mean, at that time, and that's interesting that you would be you wouldn't be a laughing stock. I mean, somebody might find it funny, but you might get somebody that that need encouragement and need that, and then that's something that people need even today because so much going on out here today. So that's
and we all have that switch in our head, accept or reject, right? And so for different reasons, we accept and reject things. If I say, "Hey, Ranger Matt, you have purple hair," what are you going to tell me?
Go Ravens.
Go Ravens. That's funny. But you're not going to believe it. No. But if I tell you, you could have been nicer to somebody. Now your wheels start turning. Was I mean? Could have I been nicer? Did I say it right? Did I this? And this is how, with that accept or reject button in our head, right. is always there. And when you hear something, or even if it's the voice in your head, because we have lots of voices in our head. First of all, ask yourself, is it true? Or no, first of all, ask yourself whose voice it is. Because 99.9% of the time, it's not your voice. It's your dad's, your teacher's, your sister's, your brother's, your wife's, or somebody's, right?
Right.
So you say, whose voice is this? And then whether it's yours or not, and most of the time it's not, ask yourself, is it my truth? Is it my truth? Because if it's not your truth, it's like, are you ready to let it go? That's a third question. If it's not your truth, are you ready to let it go? So, for example, even with the writing, it wasn't when I started writing again, it was because in 2000, I opened up a website and I utilized a drop shipper and I was selling pewter figurines. I had to write descriptions of these figurines to sell them and write enticing, descriptions of them.
Right.
And within a couple of months, other people were copying my descriptions. And I thought, I must not be that bad of a writer. Nobody's laughing at my descriptions, so they're copying it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was then that I, really let go of that, hey, not everybody's going to like my writing. Some people will, some people won't. But really just saying who I'm meant to serve, they're going to resonate with what I have to say. And if you don't resonate with what I have to say, I'm not here to serve you. You had mentioned earlier about, all the people that I could help, but I believe wholeheartedly that I had to go through everything that I went through in order to be where I am today, because the world is so much more enlightened today than what they were 20 or 30 years ago, that they're really open to discover who they are.
Right.
And people want to live authentically. They're tired of living fake lives. They're tired of living the way other people are telling them to. They're tired of creating a business step by step the way other people tell them to do it.
Right. Well, obviously, God had a plan for you even as a young child, you know, and look at where he got you at today. I mean, through your trials and tribulations, you're in a different place now, and now you're helping people as far as where they're going. What advice does somebody, well, I mentioned what advice did you give somebody? What advice did somebody give you?
Oh, it's always your life is your choice. That is the number one. When my supervisor, Carol, and she did become my mentor of all things, when she told me your life is your choice, to me, that was the first best, biggest advice I got.
Mm-hmm.
The second, and maybe it's a really close tie to first, is right. I met my best friend Liz right after my mother died. Okay, my mother died, and there's a lot of circumstances around her death. But then the week later is when my ex-husband told me he didn't love me anymore, but was going to stay with me for the kids. So I really felt lost, alone, and just not good. I mean, why Liz befriended me, who knows? Because I was a basket case. But Liz would let me cry whenever I needed to cry. She'd let me laugh whenever I wanted to laugh.
Right.
And it was probably a good 2 years later. I don't know what I was talking about. And she goes, Cindy, do you realize you can never talk about your mother dying without mentioning Earl not loving you? And you can never mention Earl not loving you without mentioning your mother dying. These are two separate griefs. You need to separate them and deal with them separately. And this was, again, the best piece of advice, simply because, and I see this in so many people, we lump griefs and bad things that's happened to us, or in our lives, we lump them together whenever really they have nothing to do with each other. But then that makes the pain and the healing of it a lot harder and a lot tougher. So separating them helped me grow and learn, because putting those two things together was unbearable for me. And that's where I think a lot of unbearable pain comes from, is we're lumping a whole bunch of stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are times where when we're going through situations and we bottle that in, we don't know how to express that or how to let that go. And as the time goes by, or after the period goes by, we can get ourselves to a point where we can express it. And I because I'm a writer myself, I think that writing it down is a good starting aspect.
Mm-hmm.
To get like I don't remember who wrote that song, but let it go. That you gotta let it go. Because eventually, burying that pain, the suffering, burying that down, this doesn't that doesn't help. And
exactly.
and your work with encouraging others is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it a bit. I understand your show, Biz Success.
Biz Success, yeah. I want to add to that really quick, though, with the pain. Some people can really get everything out with writing, which is fine. But even sometimes when you writing, what it is so many of us was not taught to verbalize our feelings and our pain, especially boys, especially the male population. And, it's changing a little bit, but, my son is 41, and I know, like, my ex-husband really drilled into him, boys can't cry, boys this, right? I mean, you are, as males, I always feel sorry for males, because it's getting better, but it still hasn't 100% went away, where males, you're brought up to think you're supposed to be macho and you're supposed to be in control, not show your feelings, and you're supposed to be logical and all this stuff, right? And it really, it hurts. When my son was 5, he went through this thing. He used to always tell me, I hate you, mommy. And go, that's okay, Brian, I still love you. Right? I just never let it faze me. But my ex-husband always wanted me to spank him. And I go, I am not going to spank him for his feelings. He is allowed to have his feelings. And to this day, Brian tells me I'm the only person he 100% feels comfortable with sharing his feelings. Right. But it's because I allowed him to do it when he was little. He can still do it. And so many people for different things. I wasn't definitely allowed to share my feelings, and a lot of people are raised with, kids should be seen or not heard, just so many things.
Right.
But verbalizing them, we don't want to verbalize them because they hurt. And even if something happens today, like if I get into an argument with my husband, I'm angry at Mike because he whatever, right? And
Right.
whenever you verbalize it and you say the one sentence over and over, and I usually say to my father, is right, I'm angry that my father abused me. Very, I'm not angry anymore, but right. So when verbalizing that over and over and over, that same sentence, I'm angry that my father abused me, I'm angry. And you just let your body feel whatever it feels, because the first time you say that, your body's going to tighten up, your throat tightens up, and you could cry, you could do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But verbalizing it gets it out of your body, because if you don't get it out somehow and let it go, it's going to affect your life physically or in your relationships, and it's going to affect all areas of your life until you learn to let these feelings go.
Right. You're exactly right.
Yes.
Man, I was gonna say you already got that. I was gonna say you need your own show, and I don't mean just on the internet. You need to be on one of these channels, I'm telling you.
Well, thank you.
Well, I got a little video of you. I don't know when the last time you seen it, but it's a little clip I'm going to play of you.
Righty.
Just a little bit with you talking a bit here.
When you first started your business, you were probably super duper excited. You were ready to make your mark in this world, and you was ready to change people's lives. And after the excitement wore off, you started thinking, how do I get seen on the World Wide Web? It's a jungle out there. How can I stand out from the crowd? How do I find my clients? How do my clients find me? Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Whiz, and this is exactly why I created this website for you.
Well, even then you was preaching, I mean, you.
That's funny.
Yeah. I have to say, you look like you're in your 20s, and you like, because the journey you've been talking about now that you've been on, you look like you're in your 20s. So it's really
interesting. I will be 63 next week.
No, really?
Yes. Yeah, I will be 63 next week.
You don't look it. Not at all. Wow.
Yeah. And even going with my journey, a lot of people are like, "You're still going to be the Visibility Whiz?" And I'm like, well, definitely. I love helping people find success with their business. But in it, there has to be, you can only grow your business as fast as you grow yourself. And what a lot of people do is they get online, they go, I want to be seen. No, I don't. I want to be seen. No, I don't. I want to be seen. No, I don't. Right. And so they're sending all these mixed messages, and that's because they don't know how to be authentic. They feel like they're an imposter, and they have all these voices in their head from everybody and anybody in the past. And I was sharing a little bit with you before we were live that, I teach people to have outrageous confidence in business and in life. So the outrageous means that it's something bold, startling, or unusual. Confidence is a state of being. Nobody is ever, quote unquote, completely confident. We all have our insecurities. We all have things, but confident is a state of being. It's a decision. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do the best I can. I'm sure there's times that you don't feel like coming online and doing your show, but you come on and you're confident you're going to do the best you can at that point in time. So being outrageous is doing something that's startling or bold or unusual. It doesn't mean that everybody in the world needs to think it is. It means that it's startling and bold for you to do it, unusual for you. And I was sharing with you that I had COVID earlier this year and almost died. And one of the side effects of COVID is losing your hair. Some people know, some people don't know that. So I lost about 95% of my hair, and this was very difficult on me because, I mean, this was like a part of my identity. And I mean, I cried. It was just, it's horrible. And
I can imagine, because I didn't, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I didn't know that could happen when I didn't know that.
And a lot of people don't. And they say that it seems to be genetic somehow, but every woman that has had COVID in my family has lost their hair. So I'm like, it has to, I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. But and it does grow back, because I'm on camera so much, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I have a wig on now, so thank you. But it was very traumatic. But what I did, whenever something really bothers you, especially if you want to be seen, you want to be visible, and you want to be authentic, share whatever's bothering you. If you go to my Facebook page and you scroll down like a couple months, you're going to see my head at its worst, baldness, because I took pictures of them and I shared it with everybody in my Facebook community, because I'm like, once I say, hey, this is it, then I don't have to be so scared about it. And that was definitely something outrageous, bold, confident, bold and unusual, right? Because a few years ago, I probably would have hid and not did any camera appearances for months. Right. That's how much I've grown, to say, in the past 4 or 5 years. But you have to ask yourself every day, what can I do today to be a little bit bold and startling and unusual? And this, I started like preaching, if you want to use that word, talking about this. And I think it was like around 2015, I went to this event, and my roommate said, oh, Cindy J, you shouldn't wear that sweater. It makes you look fat and frumpy. Believe me, no woman wants to hear she looks fat and frumpy.
Right.
And so she's like, you should only wear that sweater at home. So that's what I did. I only wore the sweater at home. And then right after, like probably, I used to be a divorce coach, and I transformed into the Visibility Wiz in 2017. So right during this transformation of, who I was and how I was showing up online, right, I had some errands to run. So I threw my sweater on and I went to 4 or 5 different places. And each place, somebody stopped me and said how beautiful I was, how beautiful the sweater was. And they complimented me on me and my sweater. Right. So I went home and I had my husband take a head-to-toe picture of me wearing the sweater. And then I sent it to my email list. Now that was bold and startling with the thing. But this is also, I was talking about that accept or reject button in my head. I decided to accept that I looked fat and frumpy in it because this woman that I didn't even know told me so. And so whenever you start asking yourself, like, whose voice is that? Is that really yours? And one person's opinion is that. It's one person's opinion. Every single person on this earth, we have our different opinions, and we see things differently. We have our different perspectives. That's why, I always find it interesting, these psychological tests where they have 20 people witness something and then they ask them all questions about it, because all 20 people have different things that they've seen and felt and heard. Right. So exactly. We have to remember that all eyes are not on us, that, you care more about you than me, because we are the center of our own universe, each and every one of us. But we have to remember that we're not the center of the whole universe. We're just the center of our universe. And most people don't care about our universe.
Nope, not at all. As long as we do, that's important. Yeah. Yeah.
And making the best of it. I go, we can't, none of us change our past, but we can rewrite it. And we can turn the chapter of that page. We can turn the page and start writing a new chapter in our life. And we can rewrite our past just by changing our perspective on it. I always go, act like you have this little neighbor, Nosy Nellie. So how would Nosy Nellie describe what happened to you? Because that's taking out all the feeling. Because it's our feelings that mess up our lives. Right.
You know, said a lot of interesting words. I'm telling you, you need to be a preacher somewhere. You said a lot of interesting And it kind of, it might not be the best example, but it slightly reminded me a bit of a phrase that was said on The Lion King, where the monkey on there said, "You can't change the past. What happened in the past happened. Is what you do in the future is what stands out for you." And it's kind of like what you're saying. People, well, including myself as well, might take on what somebody else say, because you might see a stranger where you go and they might say something and that stays with you, and not realizing that that's just their opinion. But what do you personally, I mean, well, just in general, what do you think of that? So just, everybody's minds, yeah.
And whenever you're seeing different people, remember they have their stories, and it's
Right.
being, and knowing, I believe this wholeheartedly. Every single person that comes into our life is there for a reason, even if it's for a very, very brief moment. So it's like, how can you be somebody, like every time somebody opens a door for me, like if I go to the post office, somebody opens the door, I'm very grateful for it. But that person touches my life. And when something like that, so if I'm walking in and you open the door for me and we smile at each other, everybody that witnesses that, it lifts their spirits.
Right.
Something so simple. And this is how, we can make, a collective conscious better effort just by being kind to everybody that we meet. And, even going up to somebody, we've all done this. You go up and you give somebody a compliment, and it's like they automatically, even if they reject it, that's a whole nother episode. But even if they reject the compliment,
you're right.
then you're still lifting their spirit, and you're lifting the spirit of everybody around you.
Right. Exactly. Well, that being said, I mean, you.
You're so cute.
That being said, what kind of music do you listen to? Like, is there music that inspires you?
Not really. I don't listen to music too much. I'll tell you, this is how crazy into self-improvement per se I am these days. When I had COVID, my husband wouldn't bring me my computer, darn him. And I was like in ICU on 100% oxygen, right? They told my husband that had he not called 911, I wouldn't have lived through the night. So I was really sick. And he had to, give them permission to ventilate me, but thankfully they never had to go that far.
Right.
I hung on for 2.5 weeks at maximum oxygen. But what I did on my phone was I listened to singing bowls, the crystal bowls, and I listened to like Wayne Dyer and stuff like that on YouTube. That's was on my phone constantly while I was in ICU. So it's like I never really listened to me. I started watching a couple TV shows, but they just got boring. So I had more fun listening to like Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins in my crystal bowls.
I know somebody watching this is going to get me, but I'm gonna be the first one to ask you, who is the group you just said? The last one?
It's not a group.
Wayne?
What it is, it's they have these crystal bowls and they call it healing energy. And they have this little thing and they circle it. They like circle it and it makes these sounds. And it's really pretty. You look up on YouTube, just put singing, SINGING, singing bowls, and you'll see lots of examples of it. It's, let's say maybe it's new agey, but it definitely, there's the different tones, and it's really healing and it's soothing just to have these different tones being played. Also, like sometimes I'll listen to things like some of the Native American YouTube things where they have like flutes or their chants and stuff, because that's what uplifts me. But all of this is it's more uplifting. Before I got more into that, like if I'm in the car with my husband, I like oldies. Like if I'm going to listen, I like the oldies but goodies from the 50s, 60s, some 70s. My husband likes the hard rock. I'm not into that. We both sort of like country western. But literally the only time I will listen to music in the car is if somebody else is in the car with me. Otherwise, I'm listening to something inspirational.
Okay. Well, I was getting ready to say, well, when you was thinking of a singing group, I was getting ready to say the Doobie Brothers, but then 50s and 60s further back.
My favorite song is the Beatles. My favorite song is Let It Be.
Oh,
My favorite song is Let It Be. And I've just always just loved that song. I also really, really, really like Sitting at the Dock of the Bay. And, you know, that song, my brother, he used to always tease me, why do you like that song? It's about nothing. It's about doing nothing.
right.
I just want to do nothing.
Just want to sit on that dock with that old bay, you know?
Yeah, I love the ocean. I love, 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 love the ocean.
Right.
So I could live on a cruise ship. I mean, I just could. I love being out in the open water.
Well, let me see here. How, where do you, I'm trying to find the right terms for this, you know, from what you're doing and from talking with people and what's going on. What is your viewpoint of the world today?
I believe that we are going through a birthing process.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we're going through for centuries and centuries and centuries. The world was very male dominated. I don't care what religious book you pick up, it's very male dominated. And women were always, you know, the feminine energy just was always like not thought about as being good. And I think that we're in this transfer, not of the feminine energy taking power, but
Right.
of us really becoming equal. You know, if you're in Christians, you always hear people talk about, you know, the ribs. Well, God took, you know, Adam's rib to make Eve, for them to be side by side, not for one to have power over each other. And so I've heard, you know, a lot of Christians talk about that, but that's how I see it. I see we're coming more where it doesn't have to be this machoistic way where the male population, especially the younger males, I mean, I think I could be wrong, about the same age as my son, maybe love, you know, somewhere in there, I don't know, but
Is
yeah.
he in his 20s?
Are you in your 20s?
I used to be. I'll be 31 next month.
Oh, okay. So you're 10 years younger than him. Okay. So, but and even with your age, the 30s, the males, I see a difference where most men of your age group, my son's 41, so you're saying, I think you could be in the same generation. I don't know where the generations changed with X's and the Y's and the Z's and everything else, but that you're more open to other people's ideas. You don't think you're superior. You're more like, you know, everybody is equal. You don't even per se having the stupid white man attitude. Like my son does not in any way, shape, but I always say this, he's the person in this world that I've seen the most that literally doesn't see color. He doesn't see color. He doesn't see culture. He doesn't see monetary differences.
Right.
Like, you know, he owns a sailboat, and he took my daughter and her friends to Catalina last weekend. And Amy's like, yeah, Brian has this friend that's homeless in Catalina, and I didn't know about him, but right, I mean, so he befriends all the homeless people. He befriends anybody.
Wow.
He's just, and he amazes me that he is so, just everybody is equal and everybody's on the same playing field and everybody needs help, but in different ways. And I mean, I see more men with his attitude than not for the younger generation. You get older men, older than 60, they're a lot more machoistic. Or my brother, like if he was still alive, I'm 63, he would be 75. But he was like, I'm the man, I'm going to make the money. My wife's going to stay at home and work and stay at home. Right. It was like, it's just this different thing. But in the world today, we're coming together. We're seeing that it doesn't matter what color we are. It doesn't matter if we're male or female. It doesn't matter if we're gay or lesbian or neutral gender or anything else. We are all people.
Right.
And I think we're in the birthing process of it really coming into fruition. But the birthing process is a very, very, very painful one.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's an interesting. It is an interesting time that we're in,
Mhm.
and I we are in a time where people, I guess too, because of social media being the way it is now. I mean, I say to people all the time, I'm old enough to say this. We didn't have all this when I was growing up,
Right.
and it was hard. People kept things shielded in more, whereas now Facebook, Instagram, what have you. I mean, it's just stuff out there I don't even know about. People be telling me about, but it's just a bigger network podium now that people have ways to express themselves, and it doesn't be bottled in. And one thing I tell people all the time. I mean, it might be a little left field, but I tell people all the time. You got to go out, kind of like what you were saying. You got to really go out there and do you. Cause at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge you. I mean, I may not like or understand something you're saying or doing, but it's not up to me. It's between you and God, and He has to make that final call. I can't do that. I can give you my 2 cents if you slightly ask for it, but at the end of the day, I can't tell you what to do. We have to make our own decisions.
And I do think it is like, years ago, people would group themselves on purpose, I believe more on purpose, based on what they felt comfortable with. Other people that believed like them religiously, politically, and by race, by, I mean, very interesting. My mother was raised in New York, and I have the address of where she lived. And I was working with this woman that was from New York, and I told her the address my mom lived in. She goes, "Oh, your mom was Irish." I'm like, "Huh?" Like, really? Like, from address? But she said that was like, and I told her that my grandmother, my great grandmother, was German, and she goes, "Oh, she probably acted like she was Irish. Otherwise, the Irish would have kicked her out for being German." And I'm like, "Wow, right?"
Why? Where'd you get that idea from? Jeez.
But I mean, and she's telling me about the culture of like the New Yorkers, especially in past years. I mean, I have no idea how they are now, but I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I think because whenever you're lumped together, you feel comfortable around other people you are.
Right.
And right now, so many people are trying to get everybody to be like them. Other people are trying to get like, hey, just let everybody be who they are. That's me. I'm like, I love everybody, right? It's like, I don't care. But it's so sad. And even like talking about COVID, now being in California, I just moved to Arizona last year.
Right.
So I was in California during, the beginning and everything of COVID. But I know in California, especially, if you do not wear a mask, you're like condemned, right? My sister lives in Oklahoma, totally different mindset. She wears her mask and she gets condemned for wearing her mask. I'm like, to me, it's like, hey, if people want to wear them, fine. If not, fine. It's like, just let people be. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I always wear them whenever I'm supposed to wear them. But if I don't have to wear it, I'm not going to, because I hate them and I can't breathe in them. But, it's like it was just crazy to me seeing my poor sister, who has a lot of illnesses, who really felt protected wearing her mask, and how she was treated in Oklahoma for wearing it. And I'm like, just let people be who they are and let people make their own decisions, just as much as if you're a lesbian, that's fine. If you're gay, that's fine. And it's, I've always been somebody for equal rights. When back in the 80s, long time ago, I waitress before you was born, Ranger Man.
Yeah.
I was a waitress. And I worked with this gay guy, and gosh, this was the beginning of AIDS. My ex-husband was like having a fit. He was like, "How come you're friends with Vincent? And how come you let Vincent touch you? You're going to get AIDS." And I'm like, "I'm not going to get AIDS." Vincent just always rub my shoulders and give me a massage. He gave good massages, right? I'm like, "I'm not going to get AIDS from Vincent rubbing my shoulders. Believe me, right?"
Right.
But my mother-in-law died, and my work gave me a week off.
Mm-hmm.
And about 6 months later, Vincent's partner's mother died, and they wouldn't even give him a day off. And I remember I was like yelling and screaming, like he was every bit as much as his partner's family as I was my husband's family. But because we're male, female, I get a day off and he doesn't, and this was like long before gay rights even started, the big,
Right.
push. But I was like, I seen the injustice back then. It's like everybody needs to be treated equally, everybody, but by the same token, we can't force our beliefs on somebody else. Like if you believe everybody should wear a mask, fine, I don't care, because that's your right to have your belief. And I think once we can all not think everybody has to think like us and act like us and be like us, that's going to be the end of the birthing process whenever we start seeing some peace in the world.
Right. Exactly. Well, like I
It's
said,
never, ever, ever going to be, there's billions of people in this world. We're never going to agree on everything. It's something nice to think, but we're just never going to do it.
no, that's very impossible. I mean, unless you're one of them people that do like one of them cartoon short films where everybody has a twin agreeing with everything this person is saying. Yeah.
There was back in the 60s, there's the Twilight Zone, the original Twilight Zone. And there is this episode, there's this guy, he's like, I wished everybody was like me. So all of a sudden, the entire world are like him, right? So he goes into the office and he was like this grumpy person and everybody's grumpy. And, it was driving him nuts because everybody was acting like him, thinking like him, doing what he would do. And whenever there's no differences, there's no joy. We have to see the good and the bad in order to choose the good that we believe is the good and move forward.
Right.
There's, to me, lots of Twilight Zone episodes that really have these cool messages behind them, such as that one. I mean, the world would be a horrible place. I mean, I wouldn't want everybody in the world to be like me.
Yeah. I mean, woo, that'd be strange.
And I think, world peace, and to me, world peace, again, it's not everybody thinking the same. And I know some people, whenever they think of world peace, they think that way. But I would like anybody to show me one family, just one family, maybe one family of 10 people where there was no disagreements.
Right.
Exactly. And you love all of those 10 people, but man, there are disagreements. We all have our crazy aunts or uncles that we just put up with because they're part of our family.
Right.
we have the stubborn ones.
Where did the term visibility whiz come from for you? Like, was that something you created or was just somebody said?
I did. It's something I always tell all of my clients too. Online, you want to be seen as a trusted and in-demand expert. So in order to be seen as a trusted and in-demand expert, you have to know what you want to be known for. Because if you don't know what you want to be known for, you're never going to arrive. The internet's a very, very busy place. And people you have to grab their attention quick, and they have to know what you stand for quickly. So when I decided that I was going to help people with their online visibility, I wanted to call myself something that stands out. Because if I'm at a conference, you may not remember Cindy J. Holbrook, but you're going to remember the visibility whiz. Hey, I met that person. What was her name? Oh, but she called herself a visibility whiz because it's different. It stands out. Right. So therefore, if you Google the visibility whiz, you're going to find me, tons of me everywhere. And that's what you want. You want something that people can Google and find you.
Right.
A lot of us, I'm sure that if we Googled Ranger Matt, we're going to find you.
Oh, boy.
And, because you positioned yourself that way, right? You're Ranger Matt. And so you're going to find you. But if you don't know that, who it is, it's difficult to find. Also, once you know, and you have to know exactly what it is and have a message. And then you need to be visible in front of your ideal clients.
Right.
If your ideal clients are single moms, you don't want to be on LinkedIn because single moms don't hang out on LinkedIn. Right. And also you don't want to be visible to a whole bunch of senior citizens because you're never going to make any sales. So if there's a lot of people, they always want to try to sell to everybody. I was that way. My first year being a coach, I worked in social services. I'm like, I can help everybody. I made $500 my first year of coaching.
Wow.
My second year, I niched to be a divorce coach. And so my second year, I made $20,000 just because I chose a niche. So now I knew who I was talking to.
Right.
And I could stand out different. But even with being a divorce coach for women, I found out, hey, there was really 4 different subsets of women. You had women contemplating a divorce who spoke a different language than women actually going through the process of a legal divorce, who spoke a different language than somebody who was already divorced and trying to move on with their life versus somebody who was divorced trying to find their soulmate. Okay. They all speak their different languages. So therefore you have to know who you're talking to, because you have to, when you know who you're talking to, you're using their language, you're using their pain points. With these 4 subsets of divorced women, they have different pain points. So, I mean, that was like a lot of writing back then, trying to talk to them. Really, I wasn't so much into the dating. But then I started being on a lot of podcasts and radio shows for dating coaches. And my list became full of dating people. I created programs and coached people on dating because that's what they wanted. I met my husband online before online dating was cool. I met him in 1997. Online dating was not cool back then. And they thought he was nuts. So they thought I was nuts, right? But so because of that, that interested people even more, right? Hey, man, I was like one of the first internet success stories with dating. But I became what I call an accidental dating coach, because helping somebody find their partner or the love of their life is not my passion. Right? I can do it. I know how to do it, but I didn't have any joy doing it. My joy comes whenever I see somebody transform their lives, right? Whenever somebody sees that they can be a different person, showing. And so with visibility, there's a lot of strategies being taught out there that to me aren't very, not based on my values, let's say. I think there's lots of tricks and ways to get around stuff. But everything I teach is just very simple. It's like, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I have spent maybe $6,000 in advertising since I started coaching in 2009.
Wow.
So I don't teach you Facebook ads because that's not my forte. I don't teach you any type of ads. I used to, before I became a coach, I actually did Google ads. So it's not that I don't understand them or don't know, but to me, it's not the most profitable way. One of my clients came to me, and her previous coach had her make Facebook ads. She spent $8,000 on Facebook ads, added 600 people to her email list, and had 0 clients. Within 2 months of working with me, she added in 2,000 people to her list and had 3 paying clients, all without paying any money. So it's finding a strategy that aligns with your personal beliefs and values, something that you enjoy doing, that you're going to keep doing, but also sort of digging deep with, like, as I said before, you can only grow your business as fast as you grow yourself. So it's finding out what are all those subconscious blocks that have kept you from rising above. What are the subconscious blocks that keep you from getting clients? Because all of that is what is making a business successful or not.
Right.
So visibility, you have to be visible, but you have to be authentic. You have to show up as yourself. You can't duplicate somebody else. And you have to really know who you are to have a really successful business. That I go, nobody that I've ever spoken to this day has said they got into business to be miserable. But how many people are in business and miserable?
You're right. You're exactly right. That's why you gotta be invisible. You gotta be the invisible whiz to express what you're doing, and you probably have successfully helped a lot of people who have lost their way and what what you're saying right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry. She disappeared. The wisdom disappeared. Let me get it back on. Sorry. Sorry.
You threw me away. Okay. So,
Oh man.
yeah, fun.
Yeah.
And you need to have fun in your business because life is short, and you don't want to sit there. You don't want, if you're not having fun in your business, then even if you're working for somebody else, why are you doing that? My son, he is a genius. He's a very smart person, but like I used to have to go. They enrolled me in this club for parents of geniuses because they tested his IQ when he was in 4th grade. So I went to, it was like all these little quirks, right, that he has. But
Right.
when he was like 6 months old, he could put the Tupperware toy, the Shape-O toy together, which, that's a 1 to 2 year old toy. And he could he knew all the shapes, like at 6 months old, where he was throwing them together. When he was about 3 or 4 years old, and I don't even know where he even heard this term, but he told me he wanted to be an architect because he liked the shapes and the stuff, right? And then when he was a senior in high school, he was in drafting, and this guy came and spoke to the drafting class, talking about how you could be an architect and you didn't have to go through all the regular college courses. You could go to a trade school.
Right.
And so when he went to this trade school, they told him he discovered that more than the architectural drafting, he liked the engineering part of it more, and also the engineering part of it paid better. So what he is, so then he worked for other people, but now he owns his own company. He's a land surveyor, but still it's all about the shapes and numbers, right? Putting this together.
Right.
And
Exactly.
he has veered less away from his original dream of being a kid with wanting this math and shape thing than anybody I've ever known.
Right.
And he will tell you, and he has worked his butt off, getting to where he is. And even sometimes now, I mean, he has an employee that he can really trust now, but it's his butt, and he can work really hard, but he's the first to tell you, I've never worked a day in my life. And not too many people can say that. And
Right.
it's because he really enjoys what he's doing. I mean, whenever this kid starts throwing out numbers, it makes my head spin. This is how crazy he is. In 2015, he was in San Diego, and he was on one of those fake surfboard things. And so whenever the person let go of the rope, Brian went and he hit his head on the cement, and he laid there, and so he got knocked unconscious. So when he woke up, he's laying in the water unconscious. And so he wakes up, and so his first thought is to get up, to get out of the water, but he couldn't move.
Right.
So then he thinks, I hope that they drain the water so I don't drown. And then he started doing math in his head to keep calm. I'm like, you're the only person in the world, Brian, that would be laying there paralyzed in water doing math to stay calm.
What?
But it's just the way his mind thinks, and he had broken his neck. He recovered 100%, thank God. But it was I mean, I always laugh at that. You're laying in the water doing math in your head.
Shoot, where was he at before when I was in school? Because math was not my subject, Where was your son at before when I had...
Whatever you needed him. My grandson, because Brian teaches him all the time, math from the day he was, and he's so much like my son. But he was about 6 years old, and I took him to the movies, and I got there early. And I go, Grandma's sorry. She messed up the time, so we have to wait a while for the movie to start. He goes, how long do we have to wait? And I said, 20 minutes. And he goes, that's 1,200 seconds. And I'm like, huh? And I'm sitting there with my calculator, right? And how can you figure that out so quick, David?
Man. Math whiz in the house, man. He could have been one of them.
Oh yeah.
What's that class? Geometry and calculus and all that stuff.
That's what it was. When he was a senior high school, this few stories, I think it's a funny story, but because he loved drafting, and like I said, he just loved drafting, and he
Right.
loved football. So you had to go to one class every day to be able to go to football practice. So every
Right.
day he went to his drafting class, and so he could go to football practice. On Fridays, he went to all of his classes to take his tests, and he had a 3.8 GPA. And I kept on, how do you punish a kid for not going to school whenever they have a 3.8 GPA?
That's crazy.
And that's why I said he really truly is, and that's why what he's done. But he always says he's never worked a day in his life, which I think is great because he loves the math, he loves doing the numbers, and he likes being outside with the land surveying, and so he likes both the physical labor of it as well as the computer work of it and the writing of all the descriptions and stuff, which is all math.
Right. Exactly.
Not my cup of tea, but hey, he can have it.
Hey, I'm telling you, we all need a math whiz out there,
I don't remember who said it. I think it was maybe even Albert Einstein. But you always hear we are all an expert somehow. And I've read this even not too long ago. There's some story about like if you're judging everybody by one thing, like if you tell a fish that has to climb a tree in order to be valuable, well, that fish is going to grow up thinking it's not valuable or that it's not smart, but it is because it knows its own thing. So
Right.
we all want to compare ourselves to other people, but we can't do that. It's what is our expertise, but also with listening to other people. One of my favorite stories is there's a group of frogs going along the woods, and two of the frogs fall into this really deep hole.
Right.
And so all the frogs gather around the hole and they go, come on, jump up, you can jump up. So the frogs start jumping and jumping and jumping. And the frogs up on the top, they think, it's useless. They can never jump high enough to get out of this hole. So they're like, save your energy. You're going to die. You just lay down there and rest, save your energy. So one of the little frogs lays down and dies. And the other frog keeps jumping and jumping and jumping. And the frogs are going, stop jumping. You're just wasting your energy. And the frog keeps jumping higher and higher and higher. And finally the frog jumps out of the hole, and all the frogs go, how come you didn't stop? And he's like, I'm deaf. I thought you was cheering me on.
Oh, wow.
And I love that story because so often it sort of goes back to the lies and everything. We stay down because of what other people are telling us or because we think that we can't achieve something. But
Right.
This little frog was deaf, so he couldn't hear all of I call them naysayers, all of the naysayers.
Oh my gosh.
So he jumped out of the hole.
Oh my gosh. Pardon my yawning. It's been a long day of work today, so I'm
just keeping you longer and longer and longer.
No.
I can talk from now to my maiden name is Bass, and I was always called Big Mouth Bass. So
okay. I was going to say why, then I just stopped. Like, okay, I'm not going to respond to that one.
My oldest brother used to always say, if a dog shit on the corner and Cindy saw it, everybody in town would know about it by the end of the day.
Oh my gosh! So you're like one of them. You're like one of them people on one of them TV shows where like they come in the door, be like, guess what I saw? Guess what I heard?
I'm not so bad anymore. Not quite that bad, but yes, I do love sharing stories. I do love talking.
That's okay. We all need somebody. We all need somebody to hear the news. Give the gossip word because not everybody's a news junkie. But I will say though, like, what is it like? Anything that you're currently working on this year?
Well, first of all, right now, it's like my book, Overcoming Dark Family Secrets. That is, and if you go to overcomingdarkfamilysecrets.com, you can get the book and you can get some free gifts from some of my colleagues whenever you purchase the book. But in the book, I did not want to just write a book about my abuse. I definitely did not want to end it when the abuse ended, because that's not the end of the story. So in it, I totally walk you through what I did to heal and to grow and to become who I am. And as I was writing this, it started where I started writing keys to worthiness, because I really felt unworthy. I felt unworthy of love. I felt unworthy of success. I felt unworthy of all kinds of stuff. So I
Right.
started these keys to worthiness, and a lot of them, there's a lot of exercises and different things that you can do to let go of your past and to start being the person you want to be, to start being authentically you, by letting go of all the lies that you've been led to believe in your lifetime that just aren't true.
Right.
You can always go to cindyjholbrook.com. I have different things about visibility. I am planning on launching a new program later on this year, but you can go there and, if you sign up for my newsletter where you get the five secrets to online visibility, that's on my homepage, then you will get my newsletter and you'll be the first to know when I do launch programs. You can look me up on Facebook. I'm really active on Facebook. You can find me in any of the social media, but I'm the most active on Facebook.
So is it possible I can get a copy of your book? Because I'm interested.
Sure.
When it's yeah, I'm telling you, because hearing having you on today and your words has I mean, even listening to you has my wheels in my brain thinking, because just everything we touched on today that you touched on today is just it's eye opening. I think a lot of people should hear your story, hear more of you, and your words can encourage people, and I admire what you're doing.
Thank you. And that's exactly why I wrote the book. A few years back, I was at an event, and the guy, it was Bill Barron. He had he cleared out all the tables and chairs, had everybody line up on the wall. And
Right.
he started saying, I'm going to say some statements. If they apply to you, take a step forward. So he said statements like, I've been lied to, I've been hit. I know people that's been hit. I've hit somebody else. I've lied to somebody else, right? And so naturally, nobody stayed on the wall. And the whole
Right.
purpose of this was, for us to see that we're really not that different, you and me. That's a book. That's in a song too. We're really not that different, you and me.
Right.
But anyways, during this, I started sobbing. And this gentleman, his name was Eric, and he was probably close to 7 feet tall, very tall man. He came up and he goes, may I hug you? And something inside of me broke, and I started sobbing worse. So after this exercise was over, there's 800 people at this event. And Eric and I were standing in the back, but I was sort of holding on to him for dear life. He became my security blanket.
Right.
And I said, I feel like I want to go up there and share. So he raised his hand so he was seen. So we go up on stage, and I started it by saying, it dawned on me that I've been playing small because I was afraid of big, strong men. And so everybody started to laugh. And then I went on to say, you see, I was sexually, physically, mentally abused by my father. I was also sexually abused by 2 family friends, got married at 18 to a man much like my father, minus the sexual abuse. And I said, and so I always felt like if I tried to shine, if I tried to step up, that men would just squash me like a little ant. And when Eric asked me to hold him, I said, I have this invisible sign at events. If you're a man, don't come near me, don't touch me, don't talk to me, right? Because I know I had that invisible sign. And so when Eric approached me, something inside me broke. I realize now, again, something inside of me healed, but at that time I was still saying broke. There is a gentleman in the audience named Mo, and Mo felt inspired to get up on stage and hug me. And within a minute, there were 70 men on stage surrounding me, giving me unconditional love. This was a huge healing moment for me. Afterwards, at least 100 people came up to me from this event, thanked me for sharing my story, said, you've helped me heal a part of me. You've helped me understand my wife, my mother, my sister, whoever. And I thought, wow, if just what I shared, which was very minimal, that was the first time I ever spoke publicly about my past.
Right.
And I said, if that can affect so many people, my entire story and everything that I went through is really can impact more people. So it was at that time that I decided to write my book, but it took me years to be able to write it in the way that I wanted to write it, where it was an impactful story, but also it helped you, the reader, heal from whatever past traumas you have.
Right. Absolutely.
So we
Man.
can end it with that, so you can go night-night.
Yeah, go back into work the next morning, you know. But yeah, I do want to say, you know, thank you, I was going to say Miss J. Thank you, Miss Cindy J, for coming on today. You know, I've had a blast talking with you. Is there any? I'm not stopping the show yet, but I am going to take myself off the Zoom and I'm gonna say this. Do you have anything to say to the audience out there?
I would just say learn to love yourself. You're exactly who you're supposed to be, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be right at this time in space. So don't think I should be further, or I should have done this, or I should have done. Wherever you are right now is you are in the perfect place. You're where you are based on all the decisions and all the knowledge that you've had up until this point. So don't beat yourself up for where you are. Love yourself and love where you are right now.
I couldn't have said that better myself. You know, I keep telling you, you need to pardon that. I didn't mention that I live near a fire station, so pardon that sound effects. But you need to get your yeah, it's a trip at 2 or 3 in the morning when you're sleeping. I don't know where you hear that, but you need to get your own show, you know, CBS or somebody need to put you on, you know, or like a Sunday servant, you know. Have you given the message at a church before?
I think I have. I mean, I haven't gone to church in years since I left my first husband.
Yeah.
I've gone a couple times, but there is a lot of stuff that happened that I'm like, you know, I don't believe the only way to serve God is by going to church.
Right, I understand. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming out today. I've had a blast talking with you. You know, I gotta have you back. You know, you gotta come back real soon.
Thank you. And that being said, I'm not opposed to speaking at church either. It's just, I have spoken at different things back in the day, but never since I've had so much growth.
Right. I understand that. Well, Miss Visibility Whiz Biz, I'm going to say the Whiz Biz. You've given me a lot of information to think about, and other people as well who are watching or will be watching today. I even had a buddy of mine's commented, as well as he was my past. He retired early this year. He commented. So you reach people today, and I'm looking forward to what's to come for you.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Well,
thank you for having me. It's really been fun. You really make your show fun. You have a fun personality. And it's slick, a better you.
I appreciate that, you know. Yeah, it's been a journey of 3 years, and I've had different people on, like you saw in the intro, and having you on today, like I said earlier, I always learn something new, something different, something to think about. So I've enjoyed your company, and I've enjoyed having you on. Like I said, I hope to get you back on. You know, when your new book is finished, we're going to talk about your new book.
My next book is going to be Keys to Worthiness.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, I was going to say your new book should be I guess it falls in the book you were talking about recently. I was going to say you need an autobiography book. And just, you know.
That is it. That's my Overcoming Dark Family Secrets.
Right, exactly.
Overcoming Dark Family Secrets by Cindy J. Holbrook, forward by Noah St. John.
I want my copy. I want to get one. Well, thank you, Cindy. Thanks for talking to me today and with the audience today. And have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. I'll be right back with you. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in today. It's been a visibility of Business Day. I've enjoyed this, and like I said earlier, to help better advance others and encourage others, help encourage yourself. Somebody needs a friend. Try to feed people the right information, though. Please, no negativity. But kind of what we was talking about earlier. But like, you guys have a good day. Join me Monday next week at 5:05. Those who's watching, I got another guest coming on who's a book author. I'm excited to hear her journey as well. So until next week, you guys be safe. Have a good weekend. Peace, love, and hair grease. And I love you guys. Be safe.